I have few questions here. I'd like you to throw some light to our viewers. The biggest problem is that many countries in Africa are moving or are shifting from tribal society to state. But the problem here, actually, our people are still have that mindset of tribal society rather than state. What do you think should be done to make them shift from that mindset of tribal society to create a personal relationship with the state?
No, you see, there are two ways of integrating a country. You can use the omelette theory. The eggs are broken and they are mixed together. And it is not possible to separate the omelette. The omelette, you cannot have a country like Omugoyo. Omugoyo is a mixture of sweet potatoes and beans. It is inseparable, but it is of a higher price. If you ask somebody, do you get Omugoyo? Omugoyo and sweet potato and beans are different. But when they are mixed together, then they form Omugoyo. So a country can be integrated as a Omugoyo or as an omelette. Or you can integrate a country as a minwe. You cook the banana fingers as they are, a minwe. They remain, you can even trace that this minwe belongs to this and this belongs to this. So a country can be integrated in such a way. Uganda was integrated as Omugoyo. Yes, as Omugoyo. We are Ugandans. Uganda is a small country. In Uganda, the tribal chiefs are poor.
Sure.
Yes, they are poor. How many? This is the fact that in Uganda we don't have what we call political power borrowing. That if you want votes from Baganda, you should kneel before this man. How many times has Museveni defeated the country sponsored by Mengo people?
Let me ask you, given that Uganda is transiting from tribal society to a state.
No, it is transited. It is no longer.
Why not incorporate with the traditional institutions?
No, traditional institutions were there. You cannot have, you see the problem you people make. The moment you get civilization, the moment you get development, the moment people are economically empowered, the first casualty are the tribal bonds and religious bonds. I don't go to church. Why? I can educate my children. I can feed them.
I have said that when you want to have real freedom in the country should have both strong state and strong civil societies. But in Uganda here, actually, the civil societies are weak and the state is strong. Why do you think it's so?
For two reasons. They overlook one important factor. Anybody who criticizes this government must understand the history. Yes. I always tell the people that Ugandans are like a divorcees. A divorcee, it is easier to convince a younger girl into marriage than a divorcee. A divorcee has seen that many talk nicely, but when after taking you to his home, it turns something else. So Ugandans have had a chance. They have had a political money. At independence, they started with a multi-party and an alliance. It failed within 2 years. We went into a single-party state. By 1969, Obote declared Uganda to be under a de facto single-party state. Obote was overthrown. It failed. We went into a military government. 9 years. We found out that the military government was also not a good option. They came with UNLF. UNLF was a junta. A junta is a combination of soldiers and civilian politicians. It also failed. We went into the movement in 1986. We have now, the movement also had weaknesses. We are now going back to, we've gone back to multi-party. So Ugandans have tested everything. That's why in Uganda, in the mid-90s, the wind of political change swept across Africa. But Uganda remained an island. We did not turn into multi-party. We went to multi-party at our pace and in another way. Why? Because unlike many countries where people are excited about multi-party, Ugandans were not excited about to change.
See that in the office of Prime Minister. Okay. Corruption is, I think it has reached its climax. And people outside there are wondering how greedy these people are to steal such loads of money from the poor Ugandans.
No,
what do you think actually motivates them?
Those people are not serious. Because if you find the money buying a Kamasu, you must know that the rats is being disturbed by rats in his house. The man who is not disturbed by rats in his house cannot buy a Kamasu. A Kamasu means that there is a presence of rats in your house. We have the Auditor General, we have the IGG, we have a SID, we have a corruption court. All of these indicate that there is corruption in Uganda. Simple matter. Two, the cutting of aid by these Europeans was not as a result of corruption. They were piling pressure on the government. They were part of this oil scheme. You see the timing. This is when the Parliament of Uganda was debating the oil bill. Their interest was that if this government cannot protect foreign aid, we need to protect oil money. So the Europeans were in collaboration with their oil companies. They move together. This is what Africans don't know. They move together. The cutting of aid has nothing to do with the corruption in Uganda. They were piling the pressure on us and helping our opposition to grab the Prime Minister's office was detected by the President, not Parliament. It was detected by, and the President has a network of investigative teams everywhere. They report to him directly. All of these corruption cases you are seeing have been a result of the President's intervention. But the parliamentarians are not highlighting. In fact, for me, Parliament is not fighting corruption. Parliament only intimidates the corrupt and gets money and goes away. I'm telling you, the Parliament of Uganda is not fighting corruption. They intimidate the corrupt, get a share, and jump on another and somebody else.
What you want to mean that they are sharing it?
Yes. How many cases? How many cases? You can read the Auditor General's report. The Auditor General's report touches on many cases. How many cases? How many ministries do we have? How many permanent secretaries do we have in Uganda? How many permanent secretaries have appeared before these parliamentary committees? The others buy their way out. It's only those who are stubborn, who are reluctant to share, who are taken, who are harassed. Parliament is not fighting corruption. The only person I know in Uganda who is fighting corruption is the President. Nobody else. Two, when you establish a corruption court, you are not doing anything, because the ideology of this judge, the same judge who had failed to fight corruption in another court, is the one who now in charge of the corruption court. What have you made? What changes have you made? The corruption court would have been based on different ideology. It would have been like an American jury, the jury system, whereby you have a number of people, including non-lawyers. Two, where do you begin? You don't have a law that can allow government to confiscate somebody's property. And the law is not retrogressive. So even if you know that we don't destroy this, you cannot direct that they confiscate. In democratic systems, the president uses institutions. It should be parliament to enact good laws, tough laws, and it should be the lawyers to interpret them, and the judges should pass judgments, tough judgments, to send warnings. But in Uganda, a judge releases criminal suspects, people who are alleged to have stolen money and convinced were recently released by your judges. So, the problem is also used to fight the president, ministers who go to PAC, those who don't implicate the president in their scandals are harassed by PAC. So, we are not serious. We are jokers.
Sure.
Parliament is not fighting corruption. Parliament intimidates the people who have taken money to vomit and share the vomit.
Mr. Tamale, thank you very much for your time.